Hello friends, this is your friend back with a new fanfic. What if Naruto's forbidden night with Haku became a secret bond that changed everything? If you like this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Now, let's start. Chapter 5, Haku Reward Naruto. Sunday afternoon on a hot day in Haku home, the weather was in the 100. A pretty Fuda girl eyes opened to the morning sun. She felt warmth, in a comfortable heat smiling, as the memory came back to her. She and Naruto were getting freaky in her home last night when she rewarded Naruto for protecting her from fighting. Naruto is very protective and she saw Naruto was checking her out yesterday when the Fuda cleaned the house after finishing. The moment where Haku would bend over were the best parts, it was when the full vision of her thick booty popped out. Naruto kept looking at Haku girl's body when the Fuda had bent over to grab something as Haku had started to tease. Haku started to tease the ninja with her body and she rewarded Naruto more from saving her yesterday when they were out. Fuda knows she can take care of herself but Naruto is her boyfriend who needs to protect her too from thugs. Haku has been with Naruto on the rooftops in her home, claiming Naruto more. The Fuda teaches Naruto more pleasure with a Fuda, teaching Naruto all the heroes in her button. He was kind to her, smart and nice. He cooked her dinner after making love last night. Haku smiled as she took his first time away from him. Naruto at first freaked out when he saw she was talking about the ninja and started to like her but saying it felt good to be inside her. Haku bounced hard on Naruto so hard that her butt's cheeks made an up and down motion. She had turned Naruto into a man, living with a Fuda just. "Ah man, this feels good." Naruto giggled, seeing Haku begin to bounce up and down beautifully. Naruto was enjoying himself in the best of ways. He hadn't felt this good before, by doing a Fuda. Haku cried out with every thrust while he moved into a different position, as Haku ordered, prompting a gasp from her. Naruto couldn't help but to trust harder. They felt good. God, this was better than he ever could have imagined. Why didn't he never try before? He liked with a Fuda as he heard Haku scream. Just like that, gah. Haku was moaning and screaming, sweat covering her body and Naruto smacked her round big butt cheeks, gazing at Haku shaking her hips. Haku likes Naruto and she would do it again. Rolling her body under the bed sheet in her clean pink room, her eyes saw the clock on the nightstand and the sunlight outside the porch door, and she knew it was close to sunset now. The house was spotless clean, with the AC running. Looking over to see Naruto up. "Hey morning Haku," he breathes in a raspy morning tone. "Morning, my precision." She greets him by leaning over and placing a kiss on his lips and Naruto kisses her back. His hand touches her while moving down to touch her while deepening the kiss. After the kissing was over, Haku and Naruto lie in bed resting. Naruto saw the Fuda smirk who slid off the pink bed. "I'm going to take a shower," Haku states. Naruto smiles while watching the Fuda walk away. His blue eyes stared at her thick body. He saw Haku walk around the house enjoying the sight of Haku delicious behind like he always has and he noticed a white comb lowers her back. The blonde couldn't help but blush at Haku, seeing her thick legs, and mostly on her big beautiful butt with his eyes still on her butt still. Naruto continued to watch Haku shift her hips from side to side. She made her way to her bathroom and the ninja blonde blue eyes got a perfect view of her Fuda big behind more that shakes when cum drips down on her big butt. The Fuda looks back at him with sway, her long black hair moves side to side down towards her back. The Fuda winked at him. "My precious, come join me." Haku winked at the blonde ninja opening her pink bathroom door. She walked in seduction with shaking her big butt. "I like Fuda now with a Haku, she's my pretty girlfriend," the blonde thought, getting off the pink bed and walking inside Haku bathroom, closing it as fast behind him. In the shower. Naruto grabbed Haku by her waist and hoisted her up with the running water on their bodies. Haku instinctively wraps her legs around Naruto's waist. He walked them both to her shower wall. He plows into Haku butthole hard. Haku couldn't help but moan into Naruto's mouth. "Come, Naruto, it's going to take more than that." Haku pants. Naruto couldn't help but to go faster and harder. They felt good in the shower. He could see Haku's skin legs shake as she wrapped around him. Moaning with her bare arm and hands went behind his back, her move. "Oh yes, so good." Haku screamed. Feeling her parasosad just pushed against her butthole me harder, Haku demanded, with her nails left 3 long red scratch marks around Naruto's backside as the ninja pounds into Haku forward like an animal. He started moving at a faster pace. Haku relaxed and enjoyed the futile look at Naruto, his teeth would slam together from the force of the thrusts. 30 minutes later. Time had passed and Naruto took a few breaths to relax after a while in the shower with Haku, another good for them. Naruto was sitting down on a pink Haku couch, wearing his orange tank top and black pants. Haku's house was clean and spotless, feeling the AC cool hit his face. As he finished making noodles for him and Haku, he ate into a huge bite who waited for Haku. The blonde ninja ate a few bites when he caught the local news in front of him. Breaking news. Naruto stopped some ninja's thugs last night. Naruto keeps up the good work. A news lady said. Believe it, that's what I do, I'm a ninja. Naruto cheers himself. You're my ninja Naruto, protecting me from Zabuza like that, it was very brave of your precision. Haku said, walking down the stairs. Naruto turns to see a very futa wearing a combination of a pink thong with white booty shorts and fancy laced pink bra walking next to him. Holium. Haku is hot wearing a bra and shorts. Wow, you look more pretty, Naruto said and walked over to Haku when he stared at her tits. She cups them up in her hands like a pair of big ripped melons. I've got it going on. My girl parts are growing fast. Haku winked at her man. Now Naruto, I say it's about time for you to go out on a mission alone, time to take the spotlight, you'll be a good ninja. Haku replies. Wait, if I go solo Haku, how I will continue to be teammates with Sakura and Sasuke. I can't leave my teammates, sighed. Naruto responds. Precision, you will be going out alone, your teammates can take care of themselves. The media will see a new hero protecting the hidden leaf when you beat up bad guys more alone, they will take interest in my man more. Haku saw Naruto nod in her hold. See, now it's time for you shine in the spotlight to be the best ninja. It's not always going to be about Sasuke. You told me it's always about Sasuke when the top player comes to take the Chunin exam, which they ask about Sasuke. It's always about Sasuke during the Chunin exam, they always ask about him, even the weird-looking Lee with bushy eyebrows. Maybe you have a point, Haku. All my life I've been called a loser, a weird kid, then when I finally did something right on a mission it wasn't about Sasuke. Naruto replies softly and grab Haku tits, who he drake his arm around her body and cupped. Haku lets out a moan. Naruto, to my eye you are not a loser, Haku explained. You're just different. I like that in a man. Once going solo, those hidden leaf bad guys will see a different bad Naruto, they will even be scared of you, my precious. Haku began to feel her boyfriend unclip her pink bra, causing it to fall off her body that landed on the floor, freeing the feet that shake. Naruto had stopped her conversation. You are so horny again, aren't you? The futa said with a tease smirk on her face. Yes Haku, but seriously. I like your offer, it's my time to shine by being on my own to be a better ninja. Naruto told the futa in front of him. My boyfriend will shine. Haku moaned, and in a flash of speed, she was on the couch completely with her land on her stomach, her legs open apart, her clothes being thrown away thanks to Naruto. She and Naruto bothers, she is giving the blonde a look by rubbing her with her right hand, who licks her. Seeing Naruto lay by her, she smirks by getting down. Haku kissing the top of his head, her tongue around the head while her hands work together to squeeze his balls. Opening her mouth wider, slurp on it up and down. Naruto's face went red and his blue eyes closed shut, his fist clenched hard. Ooh ooh, he moaned, letting out a saliva of his and on it, swirling her tongue around in circles. Ah, ooh Haku, he said, gritting his teeth as Haku cupped her in a tit, rubbing her sweaty around his. Haku grinned while squeezing his member on hers, rubbing it up and down at a quick pace while taking a few seconds to lick his member. Naruto was having so much pleasure from Haku, she had ways with her tongue as he holds onto her head and starts petting her black long hair with his left hand while she services him, rubbing hair in his. Haku grabbed her and fondled it with her hands as milk leaked out of her tit. Yay Haku! Naruto moaned out loud, his blue eyes bulging out, feeling the softness from her hands rubbing his. How the heck did he get so lucky to be with Haku? And he agreed to go solo. Haku wraps her lips around his. She gets to work at the base of his and it on his. She knew her blowjob skills were the best. Oh Haku. Oh god yes. Yes. My Haku, feel even better when we were in the shower. Naruto grit his teeth, feeling her mouth and tongue around his shaft as both her hands are pressed, and both of his hands are holding onto her black-haired head, centimeters long of his moving over her tongue. Yes, my pretty. I can't take it. It's so good. Reaching his limit in how much he can take this, Naruto can feel a huge amount of sperm coming from him as he lets out a quick yet powerful cum. I'm cummingggg. Naruto screamed. Futa decides to put her mouth as deep as possible, and when Naruto unleashes a powerful cum after a shot, she could feel it. Her mouth was quickly filled, trying to swallow as much as possible of his cream bomb that could fit in her mouth, which some would come out and fell out from her mouth. She removed herself from his member, which still let out one final shot that covered her chest that went down to her, the warm sticky dessert when the Futa just had swallow all of the cum. Naruto was breathing heavily after shooting another cum for the second time. Ready for more of my precious? Haku smirked and wigged her big and wet butthole for Naruto to see. Teehee, yeah, my pretty. Naruto breath out, feeling Haku touch him and get into position on top of him. She starts to grind her huge big on his. Naruto touches her big booty. On Haku. She lifted off her knees to hold his big head into her butt, sitting down on the base of his Haku and let it fill her up again. She started to come down on his with a boom. Aghnn. Naruto moaned way louder now. Haku smiled with a grin on her face. Her butthole was now stretched and used his member after all that plowing she had yesterday and today. It was time for her to show him more in her butt, and she can keep up. Haku started moving it super fast, riding like a cowgirl, her thick booty moving around and her butt cam in and out, sound that came from their mouths, with moans of pleasure, grunts, and groans. Haku lifting her huge up and down Naruto at a pace so fast again. The have 3 times today, and it was hot. The feeling of his inside her butthole was so good. She wanted to see what Naruto would do when he fights bad guys alone. The Futa know he will kick butt, and the Futa would reward him when he will make a name for himself. A few minutes later of hard sweaty. The Futa was in powerful pleasure of the hard, letting Naruto take the lead in the doggy style, when she taught him to do her in the butthole from behind. Naruto stuck his whole length deep in her butthole from behind, ramming it into the Futa. Haku bite on the couch pillow, feeling his huge humping the heck out of her, with every thrust. Haku, your butthole feels so good. Naruto arms wrapped around her waist and hips moving at speeds. Haku could feel her partner humping her hard. It just made it more clear how much he learned how to have with her in the butt. The blonde ninja was pummeling her from behind while he can see Haku swinging back and forth when he pounded her in the butt. He also saw Haku move as well, saw Haku big was up in the air. Both of them were in a state of such hot, bottling up so much moans and energy, the couch would shake wildly and their bodies would change positions almost like in autopilot. Deep and fulfilling thrusts that both of them felt to their cores. Oh, yes. Oh my, yes. Precious, your feels so good in my butt. Orgasmic waves kept flowing throughout the Futa. Haku looked back at Naruto. He was focused and filled with desire for her butthole. He slid in and out in her wet butt. One of his hands used the couch next to her to stabilize himself when he leaned over her slightly to her hard. With more pumps of his, he playfully slaps the Futa left cheek. Pound this Futa butt harder. The sound of talk heard down Haku household with their moans could probably have been heard in the house. Haku moaned again. Oh my god, ah. She bit her lip when Naruto continued a faster pace inside her butthole. She was being on her couch. That's the spot. Haku grinned, moving her hips back, and Naruto took his hand off her bag and ran it down the length of her smooth, perfectly black hair. Haku, when I go solo, I will make you proud. He barely got the words out before his twitched deep inside her butt creamy hole. Yes. Haku screamed, feeling her boyfriend thrust one more time. Ah. Her body felt him her harder, and couldn't hold back either. Their collective moans echoed through the house. Nobody paid attention to how long they went at it as the day turned to night, or how many times the couple had their hot, but it was all over the place and it was mess. After what seemed like forever and only possible to go all out thanks to them being tired, both of them had stopped. Naruto blue eyes were wide open and his breathing was at a fast pace, grinning, and the two both were sweaty of therapy both enjoyed together. I'm good at this. I love your butt, Haku. He said, seeing his no longer hard and feeling his member sore. Yep. Thanks to me, my precious. I made you love futa girls with a C. A futa butt feels better than a girl. Haku said with a grin of satisfaction and getting on top of him, her bigs close to his face and fat grinding against his soft her touch Naruto's stomach while the futa girl looks at him. I am enjoying this, you and me having. I am to my pretty. Naruto wrap his arms around a Haku and tenderly cupped hair in his hands. With one last smirk, the futa was about to enter Naruto again when the news turned in the living room. Good evening, I'm Stacy-san. We have breaking news, the lady said. As Naruto and Haku look at broadcast on TV. 4 guards had been knocked out by some thugs at the warehouse docks in downtown Hidden Leaf. All 4 men jumped into action to stop them but had no luck. The thugs steal some swords parts right now. We need a toughest ninja help, we want Naruto in action. A news lady said. Haku looked at Naruto who squeezed his body. Naruto, it's your time to take the spotlight, go get them precious. Sakura was in shock, a new girl is with Naruto that saved the day from last night, also the mystery girl kiss Naruto. Sakura eyes open and took a moment to realize where she was, in her bed, and she had heard from Ino, the news talking about Naruto and the mystery girl. Turning around to look at her caller ID, she realized Ino was calling. Sakura answered the phone. Hello, she said sleepily. Sakura, last night was wild, a new mystery girl kissed the annoying brat. The sound of Ino's voice rang on the other line. Ino, don't remind me of her, why are you calling me? I thought you hate me. Sakura yawned with a growl. To rub it in your face beside I know you will be jealous on her. Sakura eyes roll. I'm not jealous at her Ino. She huffed as she turned on the news, who she's ball up her fist while peeking at an attractive girl photo on TV wearing clothes. Then she saw Naruto in his orange outfit, she saw her friend and the mystery girl kissing. That girl is kissing Naruto. Sakura said and just sat by watches with her fists clenched so tight, causing her knuckles to crack. Sakura, they going at it, from those photos, the media post last night. Hot mystery girl is grabbing Naruto butt on the rooftop. Ino declared openly. Ino. Sakura yelled in shock. I see, we don't know who this girl is, she is out of Naruto, you can practically see her tits. Sakura huffs out in anger. Point taken, that girl is out of Naruto league. She's too pretty to be with Naruto. Yes, at least we agree on something, Ino. Sakura sighed out of anger. She not all that pretty, Sakura growl out, shutting off her TV. Sakura. Ino said with a grin to tick off her rival more, you're jealous of the new girl. Sakura blinked at Ino words who glare at her rival as her eyes twinkle. I am not Ino of her. She is not going to get jealous over some pretty new girl that is hanging out with Naruto. Chapter 6. More pleasure. Naruto unlocked the door to his pretty home and stepped inside. All day at night he worked hard to protect his village and wanted Haku when he wanted to do her again after he went out to save the day as a ninja and he knew she'd be here. I'm home, he called, dropping his bag on the table. Silence answered. The ninja looked around the house. The living room window was closed by half-closed blinds. Then he realized that Haku had to be in the bedroom. He crossed the room to the bedroom door and gently pushed it open. Welcome back, my precious. The sight that greeted him almost made him melt. Haku lay down on the bed, wearing her favorite pink suit crop top and a pair of pink little shorts. A necklace on her neck, and Naruto hears sound of a anal plug filled his pretty butt with cum drip down the inside of the futa legs. The wet sound of came out harder. Naruto stood there licking his lips, as he watched Haku rose from the bed and walked to him. Haku's eyes looked at her precious when she leaned just close enough to whisper into Naruto's ear. Does, my precious, approve? The ninja barely nod a moan seeing the plug was still in Haku's butt. A rush of wet dampened her hole. He pulled back, looking at Haku. I most definitely approves, you got that anal plug in you since I left for my mission, he grinned. Taking her chin in his hand, he tilted Haku's face up until his blue eyes met hers fully. I like it in me, I had it in the time to and didn't take it out. Haku said. Good girl. Naruto's lips came hard against Haku's lips with his hands moved down to Haku's waist, sliding her shirt top up to show her big. A growl rose in his throat, and he nipped at Haku's lips. The action drew a small gasp from his pretty and let his tongue into his pretty mouth. Haku responded, sliding her tongue along Naruto in a way that almost made her legs give out, until she felt her precious hands coming to clasp of her bra. She made a quick move, dropping her hands to his shoulders, and she grasped at him, and then Naruto turned, pinning her to the bedroom door with a noise. Minutes later. I want you to strip off your crop top. Naruto grabbed the edge of the top and slowly pulling up. Arms up. Haku raised her arms straight above her head when her precious carefully rolled the crop top up, then pulled it past her arms and off. Still looking hot wearing your clothes. I look hot always, I'm your girl. You're my only girl, Haku. A grin broke out on his face. Now off your shorts. She nodded and sat up, swinging her legs over the edge off the bed to stand. With both hands, she pushed her shorts and panties down to her ankles and kicked them aside. Haku turned to her precious with smirk on her face. Naruto saw the Fuda took off her shorts and painted. Turn around and get on your hands and knees, he ordered. Haku smiled with her precious orders, turning around her big butt up to her boyfriend face. Naruto admired his girlfriend be round and juicy, like a girl's as he kneel over her, undressing himself, and took his out when he pressed the on Haku crack. Then he wrapped a hand around Haku's waist and pressed his lips against his pretty right ear. Ready, baby, Naruto grinned, presses a kiss to the back of his pretty neck, before trailing his lips down her back and towards her big butt. His hands moved to Haku's butt cheeks and opened them apart. Haku grinned. I'm ready. She was ready for her precious to make her moan again in pleasure. She had felt Naruto's chest mashed against her back and his hands holding her big butt. Haku's head lowered on the pillow, up ready for that in her. Whimpering, the pretty said, put it in me already, my precious. I will, I'm just looking at your fat first, Haku. Now stay like that, head down, up higher. Yes, baby, Haku responded. Now, I'm going in, Naruto ordered. He then slapped her right cheek and opened Haku apart, while his other hand placed the pointed tip of his against Haku's entrance. Haku's body gave a melt as Naruto pressed his head against her butt. Holding himself to her with his hand, he slowly began to apply pressure, hearing his girlfriend cry out in pleasure. Oh yes. Crap, I needed this from saving the town, Naruto growled, and began trusting hard, his girlfriend senseless as he pounded into the Fuda girl. Hiswere into Haku's buttocks, placing a hand onto Haku's left butt cheek, spreading her wide so that he could watch himself pushing his into the Fuda, and his other hand placed onto Haku's waist. Naruto began trusting deeper into the Fuda. So you step up to be a ninja? Haku asked while moaning. Yes baby, I'm a ninja, going solo kicking butt. Oh god, your hole is so wet, Naruto growled, his blue eyes rolling back at the good feeling. He slowly nestled himself into Haku's butt for a second when Haku's moans came out the room. That's my precious, you need this to be the best ninja. Haku said. There was a loud plopping sound as her boyfriend crashed into her butt big cheeks, and Naruto large balls hitting loudly into her back legs thighs. Haku moaned more and more at the wonderful feeling of her boyfriend doing her too good. I am baby, finally people can look up to me, that's not always about Sasuke. Naruto growled and took a moment at the feeling doing Haku as he come to love with his length inside Haku as he pulled back and his tip went in Haku's big booty, before purging back into her with all his force, slamming the Fuda onto the bed. A cry erupted from Haku's mouth, and Naruto feels Haku clench tighter around him. He felt cream on his with his girlfriend butt started to cream pie that move out her hole. It splashed out that landed on her thighs and thick legs, which went down onto the floor, Naruto making sure to press his chest onto Haku's back as he brought his lips to her ear. Shit, your cream pie from yours is the best, Haku. I only cream for your. Haku yelled, her voice rose into a scream when the ninja pulled out only to throw his whole body into the next thrust. A smug smirk pulled on Naruto's lips. He loved his girlfriend bang to her like ashes. He focused his on the back of her butt, removing himself nearly to the tip once more before pushing back in. Seeing Haku thrust her back against him, her big butt moved back and forth which had her booty shaking, she even whimper, and moaning like the bitch she for her boyfriend to her harder. She felt her precious hand lashed out to grasp her long black hair and pull her upper body up so that Naruto could look at the expression on her face. Does it feel good, my pretty? The ninja growled, with a hot look on his face. Haku's eyes water hard. Yes, it feels good so She yelled when Naruto gave a hard thrust, pressing against her pleasure spot. Do you want more? The ninja hand tugged on her black messy hair. Tell me, Haku. Yes, I want more of your Naruto. she shouted, feeling Naruto come out of her butt. Naruto yanked her to him, pulling her head so that he could lick Haku eyes water. She'd enjoy more and more. It was better than the plug, which she had it in her when her man went out to save the village. Haku eyes closed when her boyfriend gave a few more pounding when sweat slowly coming on her thick skin, but Naruto wasn't quite ready to fill Haku yet, who went hard at her woman prostate, continued doing the few to cream booty hole. Cream pie more, Haku, Naruto snarled, cream more. Ah, NN Naruto. Haku cried with a scream, her butt exploded with pleasure, she lowered her head to the bed sheets. The feeling of her anal clenching around Naruto is wonderful. After only a few seconds she orgasmed into a mess of cream pie by her anal hole coming out that began to came on her boyfriend. Haku began to relax. Naruto slowed his pace and pulled his hand on Haku big butt creaks as he felt Haku come on his hand. Truthfully, he wasn't surprised by the amount. Haku cum was always a lot when he do Haku. Thoughtfully, he dipped a finger into the cream and then stuffed the cum-covered finger into his mouth. He tasted the cum. Of course, he had wanted to eat Haku cum too. His hand in her black hair who he pulled her up again, as he shoved the cum-covered hand in her mouth. Lick it up, he grinned. Haku eyes opened, trying to blink herself from tiredness, her eyes finally settled. Naruto held his hand to her lips, pleased when she opened her mouth and her tongue stuck itself out to roll along Naruto's palm. She licked up at the taste, but she didn't complain as it tasted good. Eventually, she returned to lapping at Naruto's hand, with Naruto had a pleased smile on his face. It took only a few moments before his hand was clean, and he pulled his hand away from his girlfriend's face. Haku opened her eyes, turning her eyes to her boyfriend's body. She grinned, and Naruto slowly extracted his length from his pretty butt, drawing a long whimper from Haku. His head finally popped free and he let her hair go, quite happy with himself when Haku did nothing more but to position herself a good weight in the kneeling position that he had left her in. Now, Naruto grinned, one hand pumping his length as he stared at his girlfriend down with a glint in his eyes. I want you to turn around, get on your back, open your legs and spread for me while you hold your Haku. Haku grinned knowing her boyfriend wanted more. She did what Naruto told her to do. Lying down on the bed with her legs open and her hands pulling apart her cheeks open with cum drop out her hole as she hold. Naruto lick his lips, good girl, he knelt down in front of her with his chest touch Haku as he hold histo put into Haku creamy butt. Get ready for more my pretty cause we're not done yet. Naruto slammed into Haku. Somewhere on the other side of town. Lee Big brushed up against that spot within Tenten body, finally giving the girl some more pleasure. Lee brushed against that spot again. Damn it, he just wanted pleasure from his teammate. Tenten eyes focused on Lee, moaning every now. Lee figured Tenten had gone far enough without feeling as good as she needed. So he decided to grasp Tet once more as hair, helping her reach another state of pleasure. He figured Tenten deserved to feel good after they come to her house from school, and will soon go to another school after they did their Chunin exam in the Hidden Leaf which they passed their Chunin exam. Tenten groaned as Lee pounded into her. The head of Lee seemed to strike her sweet spot dead on with every thrust. Crying out, she wrapped her legs around Lee's body as Lee continued to get harder. Tenten, you feel good. Lee loved that Tenten was holding him, welcoming him into her body. He groaned and started to move faster. Tenten rolled her hips down to meet her close friend thrusts. She continued to moan and mule with her gaze straight on Lee's eyes and hands clenching her beak as she continued moans. Tenten dug her nails into Lee's shoulders as she cried, oh, go faster. Please, ah. Ngh. More than glad to. Lee grinned, going in faster and harder, making sure to brush up against her sweet spot each and every time. You're enjoying yourself. Tenten were feeling too good. She rocked her hips down as hard and fast as she could manage, crying out with every brush against her sweet spot. It just felt amazing, being like this, yes. I love why you're Lee, yes, ah Lee. Her legs around Lee's waist tightened, willing him to go deeper into her body. Lee pushed their bodies tight together to simulate intimacy. It was nice to think that they could get something more out of warmth or pleasure from this, even if it was just. Tenten pulled her lover closer, spreading her legs farther apart in order to give Lee more access to her. It felt so good having her sweet spot tormentor like this, the pleasure was overwhelming. Rolling her hips down for more friction, Tenten continued to chant Li's name, pleading him to her faster and harder. Li growled and tossed his head back, moaning with every thrust. He struck that one particular nerve harder than ever, and all Tenten could see was stars. He stared straight into her eyes as she orgasmed, moaning louder than ever. Immediately after, she released her grasp on Li and collapsed on the bed, allowing the man to just pound into her body. That had felt wonderful. Li finished just after Tenten, moaning and filling the girl full of his cum. When he came down from his orgasmic, he pulled out, taking deep breaths. Amazing, baby, he purred, glancing over at Tenten. Tenten was enjoyed the afterglow of when her legs came around Li, who she cuddles against her lover's skin, and she didn't care their teammates, all she wanted were from Li that make her feel good. That was nice, Li. Tenten whisper with her arms went around her lover chest. Li laughed, holding onto his lover. It was, now let's hold each other. He said, seeing Tenten not holding onto him. Then the two heard screaming noise coming out their window. Please, my harder, a Futa girl whimpered when they heard yelled out the window. You call that begging, my pretty? Naruto exclaimed a yell, beg me to do you harder more, my pretty. Haku shut her eyes, moaning. I want it harder. Haku shouted. Hey, keep that screaming down, I'm trying to relax with my lover. Li yelled, holding onto Tenten. Li and Tenten heard some girl cry out in pleasure when she screamed again, ah yes, my precious. Chapter 7. Lovers in the Mist. The weeks had quietly turned into months, and the intensity of Naruto's initial confusion had given way to something far more complicated, and far more tender. What began as a wild night he thought he'd never speak of again slowly became a secret haven, nestled far from the expectations of the leaf and the pressure of his title. Haku's presence was unlike anyone else's in his life. She didn't question him about being the Nine-Tails vessel. She didn't flinch at his past. She didn't treat him like a savior or a burden. When he was with Haku, he didn't have to wear the Hokage and training mask. He could just be Naruto. They met outside the village, hidden in a quiet clearing near a mist-covered stream where time seemed to move differently. Their meetings began in silence, often with long looks, careful touches, and whispered apologies. But as trust grew, so did their laughter. They told stories, about the people they'd lost, the battles they wished they hadn't fought, and the dreams they still held onto despite everything. Haku shared memories of Zabuza with a gentle voice, while Naruto opened up about Jiraiya and the aching pressure of legacy. It wasn't long before Haku's head would rest on Naruto's shoulder, and his hand would linger on her waist. At first, Naruto had told himself it was just a comfort, a way to ease the loneliness that came from being admired but never understood. But he couldn't lie to himself for long. There was something in Haku's smile that undid him. Something in her gaze that saw through the walls he built around his heart. She was beautiful in a way that scared him, powerful in a way that humbled him, and kind in a way that healed him. Their kisses became slower. Their nights together, quieter. They no longer burned with confusion and adrenaline but with warmth and longing. Naruto would wake with his hand resting over hers, her fingers curled slightly in sleep. And sometimes, when she whispered his name, he felt like it was the only time someone ever truly meant it. He began to crave those moments more than any battle victory, more than any praise. But no one could know. Not Sakura. Not Sasuke. Not even Tsunade. So he kept it hidden, this growing love that bloomed quietly in the mist. Every time he left Haku's side, he wrapped himself in guilt and worry, yet always returned with the same quiet desperation, chasing the feeling he only found in her arms. The change didn't go unnoticed for long. Sakura had always been sharp when it came to Naruto's moods, and lately, he'd become increasingly distant. He'd vanish for entire afternoons, return with dried leaves on his boots and a faint smell of snow in his hair, even when the air around Konoha was warm. His excuses grew thin, his smile too practiced. And it hurt her, not because she loved him in that way anymore, but because she still cared. Deeply. Enough to know when he was lying through his teeth. Sasuke, ever the silent observer, kept his thoughts to himself. But when Sakura finally confided in him, asking if he'd noticed how Naruto slipped away during missions or arrived late to strategy briefings, he nodded. I'll follow him, he said flatly. Next time. That next time came sooner than expected. Sasuke tracked Naruto beyond the western gate, remaining hidden in the trees as Naruto made his way toward the old mist border, far from any sanctioned mission zone. Sasuke didn't confront him, yet. But when he returned to the village, his silence was colder than usual, and Sakura knew something was wrong. Meanwhile, Tsunade had grown concerned for another reason entirely. Naruto's chakra flow had become uneven, pulsing with erratic bursts even during meditation. She suspected stress or emotional instability but couldn't prove it. Still, it gnawed at her. The last thing they needed was for the Nine-Tails seal to weaken because of a distracted heart. Only Lee and Tenten seemed genuinely at peace these days. Their relationship had blossomed in full view of their friends, steady, sweet, and open. They trained together, ate together, and didn't care who saw them holding hands under the trees. Tenten would often tease Lee during sparring matches, while he wrote her haikus about her smile. Their love wasn't dramatic, it was real. And Naruto, watching them from afar, sometimes wondered if he and Haku could ever have that. But the truth remained, he was hiding something. And everyone was starting to feel the weight of it. The wooden door creaked softly as Naruto stepped inside, the warm scent of lavender and riverstone curling through the air like a gentle embrace. The small cottage, hidden within the misty forests bordering the old land of water, always felt like another world to him, a space where time slowed down and the weight of his title could fall from his shoulders. He didn't expect Haku to already be waiting for him. He certainly didn't expect to see her like this. She was perched casually on the smooth edge of a stone bench near the open window, sunlight spilling across her skin like liquid gold. Her kimono was soft pink, tied with a mint green sash that hugged her waist with an effortless grace. But it was her legs, bare, smooth, and crossed delicately, that captured Naruto's attention and refused to let go. They glowed under the sunlight, toned yet graceful, drawing his gaze like gravity. And worse, Haku knew. Back again already? She asked with a soft lilt, her voice teasing, laced with amusement. Her fingers rested beside her on the stone, nails painted a cool jade to match the sash. One eyebrow lifted just enough to let him know she saw the way his eyes lingered. Naruto froze halfway between the door and the entry mat, suddenly forgetting why he'd come. His throat felt dry, his heart beat oddly loud. Yeah, he muttered, rubbing the back of his neck like a nervous kid. I thought you said we were gonna, train today. Did I? Haku tilted her head slightly, her smile forming slow and sweet. Maybe I changed my mind. He swallowed hard. Something about the way she sat, confident, knowing, unbothered, left him breathless. Haku had always been beautiful, but there was something about her today that felt different. Less ethereal, more real. Tangible. Alluring. Her dark hair was tucked behind one ear, revealing the soft lines of her jaw, and the kimono's neckline dipped just enough to hint at curves Naruto wasn't ready to think about. Are you going to stand there all day? She said, crossing one leg slowly over the other, or are you coming inside? Naruto stepped in too quickly, nearly tripping on the mat. Haku giggled softly behind her hand. Sorry, he stopped. Because there was no good excuse. He had no idea what to say. The Hokage-to-be, fumbly and tongue-tied over the way Haku's legs glowed in the light like silk. You're staring, Haku said gently, her tone still playful. Again. I'm not. He started, before trailing off. He really was. I just didn't expect you to be dressed like that. Do you not like it? Haku asked, standing slowly now, the fabric of her kimono swaying with her motion, brushing across her thighs with a whisper. I wore it for you, Naruto. His eyes widened. You did. She stepped closer, her fingers brushing against the edge of his sleeve. Her touch was light, but her gaze was piercing. I know what you think about when you leave here, she whispered. You try not to. But you do. Naruto's breath hitched. I think about you too, she continued, her lips just inches from his. And I'm tired of pretending we're just some secret hidden in the trees. Her words crashed into him harder than any jutsu ever could. For a long second, all he could do was stand there, face flushed, heart thundering, unsure if he was supposed to kiss her or run for his life. But Haku didn't move. She waited, not pressuring, not demanding, just waiting, beautiful and patient, confident in a way that left him dizzy. Okay, Naruto finally said, his voice quieter than usual. Maybe I think about you more than I should. Haku smiled, resting her head lightly against his chest. Then stop running from it. Naruto sat beside Haku on the edge of the futon, their shoulders brushing, the only sounds being the soft hum of wind and the faint rustling of leaves outside. Neither of them rushed. Haku leaned her head against Naruto's shoulder, her eyes closed, lips parted in the beginnings of a smile. Naruto turned slightly, watching her, not just for her beauty, but for the quiet strength beneath it. The way her breathing slowed when he was close. The way her guard melted when she let herself relax. The way she made him feel human again. I've never felt this with anyone, Naruto admitted, his voice hushed. Not like this. Haku didn't reply right away. She lifted her hand instead, gently tracing the scar across his cheek with her fingers, then rested her palm over his heart. I was afraid I didn't deserve this, she whispered. But you keep showing me I do. He turned toward her, forehead brushing hers, his hands holding her softly by the waist as if she might slip away like mist if he gripped too tightly. You deserve everything. The kiss that followed wasn't rushed or wild. It was slow, warm, and filled with a longing that had built over months, hidden glances, shared laughter, whispered nights near the river. As Naruto gently laid her down on the futon, Haku gazed up at him, eyes soft, trusting, full of something he hadn't seen in years, peace. She let him take the lead, body relaxed beneath his, fingers lacing behind his neck. There was no fear between them. Only warmth, only breath, only heartbeats pressed close in the quiet of their hidden world. Naruto whispered her name like a promise, like a prayer, and Haku smiled against his lips as he held her like she mattered. Time passed slowly, like it always did here. And when the room grew darker and the forest sang its night songs, they remained tangled together, limbs and laughter, fingers brushing skin, whispered jokes and half-sleep confessions. I don't want to leave tomorrow, Naruto murmured, tracing circles along her arm. Not yet. Then don't, Haku replied, curling into his side. Just stay. Just for tonight. Take me to the bedroom, she whispered, her breath hot against his ear. I want to feel you inside me. Naruto didn't need to be told twice. He carried Haku down the hallway, his lips never leaving his, Haku hands clutching at his shoulders. The bedroom was just as dimly lit as the rest of the apartment, the only light coming from a single candle on the nightstand. He laid Haku on the bed, his eyes drinking in the sight of him, spread out before him like a feast. You're so beautiful, he murmured, his hands tracing the curves of Haku's body. Haku smiled, her eyes dark with desire. Then show me, she challenged, spreading her legs invitingly. Show me how much you want me. Naruto didn't hesitate, reaching for the drawer beside the bed. He returned with a small bottle of lube, the cap clicking open as he poured a generous amount onto his fingers. Haku watched, her breath shallow, as Naruto's hand slid between her cheeks once more, his fingers circling Haku's hole before pressing inside. Haku gasped, her body arching off the bed as Naruto's fingers stretched her, preparing her for what was to come. Naruto's touch was firm yet gentle, his fingershikus with slow, deliberate strokes. Haku's moans grew louder, her body trembling with anticipation. Naruto's eyes darkened with desire as he withdrew his fingers, his hand reaching for his own pants. He undid the button and zipper, pushing them down his hips to reveal his thick and hard, the head glistening with pre-cum. Haku's eyes widened at the sight, her mouth watering with anticipation. Naruto gripped his firmly, stroking it slowly as he positioned himself behind Haku, the head teasing the entrance before pushing inside. Haku gasped, her body tensing and Naruto slid in, stretching her, filling her. Naruto, oh, Haku moaned, her voice a mixture of pleasure. Naruto hand tangled in Haku's hair, holding her steady, burying himself deep inside Haku's, his hips snapping forward in a steady rhythm. The sound of skin slapping against skin filled the room, a primal rhythm that matched the pounding of Haku's heart. Naruto, breaths came in sharp gasps, his body glistening with sweat. Naruto Haku with relentless intensity. Haku's moans were a constant, her body trembling with pleasure as Naruto stretched her, filled her, claimed her. Naruto, harder, Haku smirked, her voice hoarse with need. Like you mean it. Naruto's eyes flashed with determination and he gripped Haku's hips tighter, his thrusts becoming more forceful, more demanding. Haku's body jolted with each impact, her cries growing louder, more desperate. The bed creaked beneath them, the headboard banging against the wall in time with Naruto's relentless rhythm. Haku's hands scrabbled against the sheets, her body on the brink of release. Naruto, I'm close, she gasped, her voice trembling. Don't stop, don't stop. Naruto's lips curved into a fierce smile as he leaned forward, his breath hot against Haku's ear. Come for me, he growled, his voice a command. Let me feel it. Haku's body tensed, his muscles tightening as pleasure coiled within him, ready to explode. Naruto, oh, she cried, her voice breaking, her orgasm ripped through her. Her pulsed, hot streams of cum shooting across the bed, her body shuddering with the force of her release. Naruto's thrusts faltered and Haku's clenched around his, milking her, drawing her closer to the edge. Haku, Naruto groaned, his voice thick with desire. You're so tight, so perfect. Haku's breath came in sharp gasps. Naruto's thrusts became erratic, his body trembling with the effort to hold back. But Haku was too much, the tightness too intoxicating, and Naruto's control shattered. Haku, he cried, his voice a hoarse whisper. His orgasm crashed over him. His pulsed, hot jets of cum filling Haku's, his body shuddering with the force of his release. The room fell silent, the only sound their heavy breathing, and Naruto collapsed onto Haku's back, his body glistening with sweat. Haku's arms trembled and she pushed herself up, her body still buzzing with the aftermath of pleasure. Naruto's lips brushed against Haku's shoulder, his voice soft and tender. You're incredible, he murmured, his breath warm against Haku's skin. Haku smiled, her eyes closing, leaned back into Naruto's embrace. You're amazing yourself, she teased, her voice laced with affection. He nodded against her hair, already knowing he would. Because whatever this was, whatever it was becoming, it felt more real than anything waiting for him back in the village. And in the quiet hum of Haku's breath against his chest, Naruto finally allowed himself to belong. Not to a duty, not to a village, not to a legacy, but to someone. To her. Konoha training grounds, late evening. Steel clanged against steel as Tenten twirled her twin blades through the air, her body a blur of precision and grace. Sweat glistened on her brow, but her stance never faltered. Each strike was practiced, each movement intentional. She pivoted mid-air, flipping backward and landing cleanly on the padded floor of the dojo. From the edge of the training space, Rock Lee stood clapping enthusiastically, his smile wide and proud. That was amazing, Tenten. You've become even more graceful since last week. Tenten rolled her eyes playfully, walking over to grab a towel. Graceful, she teased. You make it sound like I'm a ballerina, not a weapons master. Lee grinned, undeterred. A graceful and deadly ballerina. The kind who could defeat 10 enemies with a flick of the wrist. She snorted a laugh, tossing the towel over her shoulder. You're ridiculous. And you love it, he replied smoothly, stepping closer. His usual green jumpsuit had been traded for a dark tank and shinobi trousers today. He'd promised her a more casual training session, and for once, he'd stuck to it. Tenten looked up at him, her smirk softening. Yeah, I do. There was something steady about Lee. He wasn't flashy or mysterious like Sasuke, nor was he unpredictable and emotionally tangled like Naruto had become lately. Lee was present, honest, pure-hearted, and he adored her, not in a way that suffocated her, but in a way that made her feel seen. Respected. Safe. You're distracted today, Lee said gently, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Is it Naruto? Tenten sighed. Yeah. Sakura said he's been acting distant lately. Vanishing after missions. Tsunade's worried too. Lee nodded thoughtfully. Naruto carries a heavy burden. Maybe, he just needs time. Maybe, she replied. But something in her gut told her it was more than that. Still, she didn't want to bring darkness into this rare, quiet moment between them. Not now. So instead, she leaned up and kissed Lee lightly, short, sweet, familiar. He responded like he always did, hands gentle at her sides, lips smiling against hers. When they pulled apart, she raised an eyebrow. So, race to Ichiraku. Lee's eyes lit up. You're on. In a flash of green and brown, they were off, laughing as they darted through the village streets like kids again. It wasn't the kind of love that needed to be whispered in secret or hidden from the world. It was open, honest, and joyful. And as they ran, side by side, Tenten realized something. While others were still figuring out how to love or whether they were even allowed to, she and Lee already knew what they had. And they were grateful for it. Hey everyone. First off, I want to say thank you for your patience and support. I know it's been a while since the last update, and I'm really sorry for the delay. I took extra time this round to make sure the grammar and pacing felt smoother, and that the characters, especially Naruto, Haku, Tenten, and Lee, were handled with the emotion and depth they deserve. This story is about more than just secret love or shinobi battles, it's about growth, identity, and connection in unexpected places. Naruto and Haku's journey is slowly becoming something deeper, and now we're starting to see how it affects everyone around them, including Sakura, Sasuke, and Tsunade. I also loved writing Tenten and Lee's moment. It's light, it's real, and it shows that love can be open, strong, and steady in the middle of chaos. I hope their bond gave you a bit of warmth before the drama ahead. What should readers do next? Let me know in the comments what part hit you the most emotionally. Naruto's quiet confession, Haku's confidence, Tenten and Lee's kiss. Feel free to share your theories. Who do you think will discover the secret first, Sasuke, Sakura, or Tsunade? If you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like, bookmark, and share it with anyone who's into Naruto or heartfelt stories. Thank you again for sticking with me. Your feedback means the world, and it truly helps shape where this story goes next. Chapter 7, Frozen Confessions is already in the works, and trust me, it's going to get intense. Stay awesome. Chapter 8, Table Symphony of Pleasure. Table Symphony of Pleasure. Haku stirred beneath the soft sheets, his body still humming from the night before. He reached out, expecting to feel the warmth of Naruto's body beside him, but the bed was empty. His eyes fluttered open, and he blinked against the soft morning light filtering through the sheer curtains. Naruto was gone, but the faint scent of his cologne lingered, mingling with the aroma of something sweet and enticing. Haku stretched, his muscles still deliciously sore from their passionate encounter. He sat up, running a hand through his tousled hair, and noticed a note on the pillow beside him. He picked it up, a smirk playing on his lips as he recognized Naruto's neat handwriting. "Good morning, beautiful," the note read. "I've got a surprise for you. Follow the trail. Love, Naruto." Haku's curiosity piqued. He looked around the room and spotted a single red rose lying on the floor, a ribbon tied around its stem. He picked it up, following the ribbon that snaked out of the bedroom and down the hall. The ribbon led him to the bathroom, where the sound of running water and the scent of lavender filled the air. He pushed the door open, his eyes widening at the sight before him. The bathroom was transformed into a sensual oasis. Candles flickered, casting a warm glow over the room, and rose petals were scattered across the floor. The large tub was filled with bubbling water, and Naruto stood beside it, and smiling, his already hardening at the sight of Haku. "Morning, sleepyhead," Naruto said, his voice low and husky. "I thought you could use a little wake-up call." Haku's gaze roamed over Naruto's body, taking in every inch of his toned muscles and smooth skin. His own twitched in response, already eager for more. "You planned this all by yourself?" Haku asked, stepping closer. Naruto nodded, his eyes darkening with desire. "I wanted to show you how much I appreciate last night. And I thought we could explore a little more today." Haku's heart pounded in his chest as he closed the distance between them. He reached out, his hand cupping Naruto's growing erection, giving it a gentle squeeze. "I like the way you think," he murmured. Naruto groaned, his hips bucking into Haku's touch. "Haku," he breathed, "you know just how to touch me." Haku grinned, his hand moving to Naruto's balls, rolling them gently in his palm. "I aim to please," he said, his voice dropping to a whisper. "And I plan on pleasuring every inch of you today." Naruto's breath hitched, his now fully hard and leaking pre-cum. He reached for Haku, pulling him into a deep, passionate kiss. Their tongues danced together, exploring and tasting, as their bodies pressed tightly against each other. Haku's big butt ground against Naruto's thigh, his own throbbing with need. They broke apart, both breathless, and Naruto turned Haku around, his hands roaming over Haku's muscular back and down to his firm. He gave each cheek a firm squeeze, eliciting a moan from Hawk. "You have the most incredible," Naruto murmured, his fingers tracing the crack between the cheeks. Haku leaned back into Naruto's touch, his head falling to the side as Naruto's lips found his neck, kissing in gently. "Naruto," Hawk panted. "Your hands feel so good on me." Naruto's fingers found Hawk's tight hole, circling it gently before pressing inside. Haku gasped, his hips bucking back against Naruto touch. That's it, baby, Naruto whispered. Let me make you feel good. He added another finger, scissoring them inside Haku, stretching him open. Haku moaned, his leaking pre-cum onto the floor. Naruto other hand reached around, gripping Haku thick shaft, stroking it in time with his fingers. Naruto, Haku groaned. I need you inside me. Naruto chuckled, his fingers stilling. Patience, beautiful, he said, his voice husky. We've got all day. He withdrew his fingers, and Haku whimpered at the loss. But Naruto quickly turned him around, pushing him gently against the edge of the tub. He knelt down, his tongue tracing a path from Haku balls up to the tip of his Haku shuddered, his hands gripping Nar's hair as Naruto took him deep into his mouth. Naruto, Haku moaned, his hips bucking forward. Your mouth feels incredible. Naruto hummed in response, the vibration sending shivers down Hawk's spine. He licked, his tongue swirling around the head of Haku tasting the salty pre-cum. Haku's legs trembled, his orgasm building quickly. But Naruto pulled away, standing up and turning Haku around again. He pressed Haku's chest down, bending him over the edge of the tub. Haku's big butt was on full display, and Naruto couldn't resist giving it a firm smack. Haku yelped, but the sound quickly turned into a moan as Naruto's fingers found his hole again, pressing inside. Haku panted. Please, I need you inside me. Naruto chuckled, lining himself up behind Haku. He pressed the head of his against Haku's tight hole, pushing inside slowly. Haku moaned, his muscles clenching around Naruto's thick shaft. Nar groaned, his hands gripping Haku's hips as he began to move. He started slow, his hips rolling in a steady rhythm. Haku pushed back against him, meeting each thrust with a moan. The water in the tub sloshed with their movements, rose petals floating around them. Naruto's hands roamed over Hawk's back, his fingers tracing the lines of his muscles. Haku, Nar panted. You feel so good. Haku moaned in response, his head falling forward as Naruto's thrusts became harder, faster. Look at you, he murmured, his voice a low rumble. Already ready for me. Haku whimpered as his finger pressed against my entrance, the tip slick with my own pre-cum. He didn't push in, not yet. Instead, he leaned down, his breath hot against my ear. You're going to take me like a good boy, aren't you? He whispered, his lips brushing against the shell of my ear. You're going to let me until you can't walk straight. Yes, Haku gasped, my fingers clawing at the table. Nar, just do it. He chuckled, you're so tight, he groaned, his sliding deeper, crooking inside me, hitting that spot that made my vision blur. Haku, you feel incredible. Haku was a mess of need, his aching, his hole clenching around his finger. More, he begged, his voice breaking. I need more. Naruto didn't make him wait, the head pressing against my entrance, and then. Haku cried out as he pushed inside, his stretching him open, filling him up more. The burn was intense, but it was overshadowed by the pleasure, the way his hit that spot inside me that made my toes curl. Oh God, Naruto. That's it, he groaned, his hands gripping my hips, his fingers digging into my skin. Take my Haku. Take all of it. He didn't give him time to adjust. He pulled back and slammed into me, his pistoning in and out of Haku, his balls slapping against Haku with every thrust. The tub creaked beneath us, the sound mixing with the wet, slapping noises of our bodies coming together. So tight, so perfect. Haku was a whimpering, desperate mess, his throbbing, his whole clenching around him. Harder, he begged, my voice breaking. Naruto. I need it. He didn't need to be told twice. His thrusts became harder, faster, his slamming, his balls slapping against. The sound of our bodies coming together was obscene, the wet, slapping noises mixing with our ragged breaths and moans. You like that? Naruto growled, his voice rough. You like being my little, taking me like this. His hand snaked around, wrapping around my, stroking me in time with his thrusts. That's right, he groaned, his voice thick with lust. You're mine, all mine. The combination of his pounding into Haku and his hand stroking was too much. He could feel his orgasm building, my balls drawing up tight. I'm gonna. Come for me, he ordered, his voice a low growl. Come all over my hand, Haku. Let me feel you. That was all it took. Haku orgasm crashed over him, Haka pulsing in his hand, cum spilling over his fingers, dripping onto the table. Haku cried out, Haku body trembling, Haku hole clenching around his. Naruto groaned, his thrusts becoming erratic, his swelling inside me, Haku, he groaned, his voice strained. I'm gonna come. I'm gonna fill you up. And then he was coming, his pulsing inside, his cum filling Haku up, hot and thick. He groaned, his body shuddering, his fingers digging into Haku hips. He gasped, his voice breathless. Haku. We stayed like that for a moment, our bodies trembling, our breaths ragged. Naruto finally pulled out, his slipping free, cum dripping out of Haku hole, running down Haku thighs. He leaned down, his lips pressing against Haku's shoulder, his breath hot against my skin. We're not done yet, he murmured, his voice dark with promise. Later. The curled from the forgotten saucepan on the stovetop, but neither Haku nor Naruto noticed the scorched smell drifting through the kitchen. Breakfast had ended with a single, laughing kiss, and the laughter had melted into a slow burn that neither tried to contain. Naruto shoved aside a stack of unopened mail, swept the salt shaker to the floor, and lifted Haku onto the old oak table. The wood was cool against Hawk's bare thighs, Naruto palms were scorching on their waist. Apron strings tangled, shirts half-buttoned, they devoured one another's mouths, tasting wine and hunger. Naruto belt clattered open. Haku felt the zipper scrape softly against their belly, then the heated throb of Naruto springing free, slick already at the tip with eagerness. Impatient fingers yanked Haku leggings down, the soaked fabric clung to their skin before dropping to their ankles. Haku pulse raced. They turned, offering the smooth swell of their knowing Naruto favorite view. The table creaked, adjusting to fresh weight, and Haku planted their knees wide for balance, hanging heavy beneath their rucked-up blouse, nipples brushing cold wood. Naruto breath hitched. He traced the cleft between those round cheeks, thumb gliding over the pucker he intended to claim. One thick digit pressed, circled, then sank past the tight ring. Haku hissed, pushing back, the slight sting sharpening the ache inside. Naruto worked the single finger deeper, driving in and out until Haku's thighs quivered, until soft pleas tumbled from their throat. More. Want you in me, Naruto. Spit slick, another finger pushed in, scissoring, stretching, filling the kitchen with wet, obscene sounds. Haku opening fluttered and relaxed, greed taking over. When Naruto withdrew, Haku felt empty, only for a heartbeat, then the blunt crown of Naruto nudged them, hot as fresh steel. One steady slide and he breached them, filling Haku clenching inch by deliberate inch until his pelvis pressed flush to their cheeks. A low groan rattled Naruto's chest. Haku guttural moan answered, both of them savoring that first perfect penetration, the stretch bordering on too much yet never enough. Naruto hands closed around Haku's hips, fingertips digging into soft flesh. He pulled back until only the head remained engulfed, then snapped forward. The table jerked, legs scraping linoleum. Again he withdrew, again slammed home, balls slapping the underside of Haku creating a sharp clap that echoed off tiled walls. With every thrust Haku's body rocked forward, swaying, nipples brushing the oak, pleasure burning straight through their core. Their whole clenched greedily around Naruto's length, greedy and wet despite the tight grip, producing lewd squelches with each pounding stroke. Lights overhead flickered as the old wiring struggled, but only their breath and impact mattered. Sweat rolled down Haku's spine, pooling at the small of their back before dripping onto the tabletop. Haku tasted the salt of it when he bent over, teeth grazing a shoulder blade. Words spilled rough near Haku's ear, that's it, take me. Milk my tight big. The tabletop thundered beneath them, plates rattling in the cabinet, a butter knife clanging to the floor like a cymbal crash in their private symphony. Naruto growled, slipping one hand beneath Haku to grab a handful of swaying pinching the nipple until Haku cried out. Sensations blurred, pain melting into pleasure until Haku couldn't distinguish stretch from shove, burn from bliss. Naruto hands slapped his merciless sly, creating an inferno that threatened to consume the whole room. The smell of mixed with burnt sauce painted a raunchy masterpiece in the air. Haku's eyes rolled back. Their breath came in broken sobs, each exhale punched free by the next thrust. The coil inside wound tighter, sizzling across their guts, and they wondered briefly if their heart might stop. Naruto swelled, a sign the end rushed toward them both, yet neither wanted the race to finish. Naruto slowed, grinding in circles, stirring Haku's depths, letting his crown pulse against hypersensitive nerves. Haku whined, clenching until Naruto's breath broke into curses. No more teasing. Haku shoved upright without breaking impalement, turned to straddle Naruto face to face, legs hooking behind Naruto's hips, arms looping around his neck, crushed to his chest. He swallowed his length once more, now riding instead of receiving. Wood groaned under combined weight as Naruto settled onto a chair, Haku on his lap, their slick hair falling across both their faces, sweat sealing skin to skin. Gravity helped Haku sink onto Naruto. They bounced, cheeks slapping his thighs, tits leaping with every drop. Naruto's hands returned to his hips, yanking him down harder, guiding them faster, chasing the violent tempo they had built. The slick drag through Haku's stretched rings sent fire rolling outward, their prostate throbbed, mouth opening in a silent scream. Naruto kissed that open mouth, stole the sound, breathed it back with filthy encouragement. Ride me. Show me how much you love getting your stuffed, I told you I wasn't done. Haku obeyed. They pistoned, impaling themselves again and again, juices running down Naruto's shaft to coat his balls, dripping onto the chair cushion. Their clenching channel hugged every ridge, every vein, milking him toward climax while pushing Haku to the edge. Vision narrowed, the kitchen blurred into watercolor streaks. When Naruto slid a hand between them, wrapping fingers around Haku neglected, Haku could only gasp, pulse, and beg. One tug. Two. A twist over the head smearing precum, and Haku orgasm detonated. Cum spurted hard between their bodies, first stripe reaching Naruto collarbone, subsequent pulses painting both chests white as Haku shrieked through clenched teeth. Every jet clenched his around Naruto buried length, rippling convulsions that snapped his last tether. He slammed Haku down once more, hips bucking off the chair, and unleashed a hot flood deep inside. Jet after jet filled Haku twitching whole, Naruto essence pooling where his pulsed, marking, claiming, owning. Their bodies trembled in unison, hearts hammering so hard ribs vibrated. When the final shudder ebbed, Haku folded forward, cheek pressing to Naruto's sticky chest. Their breaths staggered, synchronized in seconds. Naruto's arms wrapped around Haku, palms rubbing slow circles through the sweat. Surrounding sounds trickled back, the hum of the fridge, the tick of the cooling stove, a neighbor's distant television. The room smelled of burnt butter, musky seed, and spent lust. Neither moved. Naruto softened inside Haku but stayed sheathed, both reluctant to sever the link. Silent minutes passed, maybe hours. Eventually Naruto brushed tangled hair from Haku's neck, pressing a gentle kiss there. Haku answered with a tired, satisfied hum. The oak table creaked relief when they finally shifted. Naruto helped Haku stand on wobbling legs, cum slipped from his ravaged hole, trickling down the back of one thigh, warm and intimate. They met each other's eyes, no jokes, no words, sharing a knowledge heavier than the lingering haze. Something raw had grown from the collision of bodies, something neither could name but neither would forget. Kettle clatter, trash rustle, quick cleanup formed an everyday rhythm that made the kitchen mundane again. Yet every drawer Haku opened, every spoon Naruto retrieved, echoed the memory of thrusts, moans, a violent merge that rattled cookware. Later, fully dressed, they leaned together against the counter, sharing a glass of water, still tasting sweat and future on their tongues. Night became morning somewhere beyond the window, and they didn't care. Their connection pulsed low, quiet, but steady as the oven clock, promising that across this table, around this room, their hunger had only just begun to speak. And that brings us to the end of this story. The full story is now complete. If you enjoyed this alternate Naruto timeline, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more epic Naruto what-ifs. Comment below which story you want next, and which character should change Naruto's destiny in the next fanfic.